Hello and good evening to another episode of the Amateur Footballer Extra Time podcast. Tonight, I would just like to address one thing before we get into it. I'd like everyone here at the Amateur Footballer would like to send their condolences to the family and friends of Millwall goalkeeper Surik, who was 26 when he sadly passed away over the weekend, and also the friends and family of Kevin Campbell, who was 56 and also passed away over the weekend. And also our thoughts with Alan Hansen at the moment, who is obviously in hospital in a not very good way. But let's get into the show. We've got a special guest tonight, Jay Gunner. Welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I am very, very privileged to be here with the both of you. Both of you good-looking chaps.
Doc, how are you tonight, mate?
I'm all good, mate. All good. Hope you're both well. And welcome in, Jay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Jay, so just promote your platforms and that, mate, and then we'll get into the show.
Okay, brother. So basically, over on YouTube, I am Jamie Waffles Footy, where I do lots of podcasts regarding England. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'll try and be as least biased as possible Arsenal fan. I'm not a deluded gooner, as a lot of Arsenal fans are. And over on my TikTok, I'm a content creator, and I do lots of things from filters to talk about football. And on my lives over there, people, I do a very, very positive live where I touch on anything from mental health awareness to just football in general. So that's Jay Gunner 17 over on TikTok, and it's Jamie Waffles Footy over on YouTube. Thank you for that, bro.
Wicked, Jamie. Right, let's get into it. Serbia 0, England 1. Let's look at the positives. Doc, I'm going to start with you, mate, because we've held it in for 2 days, mate, and we've probably got a lot to get off our chest. What did you make of the England performance?
I'm going to politely decline. Start with our guest because I don't want to scare him off.
Right. Go on, Jay. What did you make of the England performance yesterday?
So yesterday, I'm going to start off with the first half. I'm going to say the first half, I was pleasantly surprised with how Southgate did approach the game in the first half, where we looked very, very attacking. We looked good. Saka worked very well. Jude Bellingham was wow in the first half. Wow. We don't get to see him too much because he's overseas. He's playing for Real Madrid. But yesterday, I was looking at him and I was just like, oh my God, you're in an England shirt. Like, he was absolutely unreal. The first half, I thought we played well. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold might have been a bit slacking in some instances, but I do think that he progressed the ball well, whereas I think Phil Foden was still non-existent in the first half. I'm going to move over to the second half, people, because I am a positive person. The second half, what the mistakes was, what happened. I'll explain it in the best terms for everyone here. In the second half, Serbia came out, moved their formation around, put some subs on, and they changed the way they played. They were on the front foot rather than sitting back and just soaking up pressure. They come out and changed. And what Southgate did wrong, he didn't realise it too early enough and didn't make changes to the formation or changes how the game was going. Whereas, I'll give an example because I'm an Arsenal fan. Mikel Arteta spoke about in games, he changed the formation and the tactics about 27 times per game. Whereas Southgate, that's literally a quote, people, if you want to go check it. Southgate did not change the game at all in the second half until it was too late and they were on the front foot. And that's how I kind of put the first and second half. The first half, I thought we were really, really good. So I am positive about the first half. And that Serbia team, I did say on my podcast, if everyone wants to go check it out, I did a deep analysis into each team. And I said Serbia are the hardest team in that group. And I think a 1-0 victory, I take it, we move on. The next game afterwards, if we win our next game, we've qualified. It's quite simple. But the second half was poor. First half, I thought we were great. What about you guys?
Go on, Doc.
Well, for anyone that's come at me in the last 6 months to a year and asked me why am I Southgate out, last night was the perfect example as to why I am Southgate out. That was the most naturally Southgate performance you could see possibly from an England team in a nutshell. And it just goes to show he has not learned his lesson one bit. And the one thing that's worried me the most going into this competition, it all came to light sooner than I anticipated. I totally agree with Jay with regards to the first half. I think the lineup that he went with, I don't have an issue with. All these people that saying certain players shouldn't have played, rah, rah, rah. I think that's a lot of players that are a little bit biased towards their clubs and want to see their players playing. I think with regards to the balance of the team, I don't think there was anyone in that first half that had a particularly bad game. I don't think there was many in that first half that had a very good game, but collectively the balance was there. So with regards to how we set up, I don't have an issue with. But, and here's the but, you score a goal, 10 minutes into the game, you can clearly see where the goal came from and how easy the game could have been. Getting the ball out wide to Saka, letting him run at his defender, and he was getting the better of him all day long. And yet no one could identify that, and they only done it 3 or 4 times throughout the whole game. Now, in other matches with other teams, when you know that you've got a player that's going to get the better of the player that he's up against, they will utilize that as much as they can. They will go out there to the point of the other team will make a change. They will then shut off that side of the pitch by doubling it up. And that's when we switch over to the other side and we go and have a bang down that side and see where the joy is coming from there. And this is my problem with Southgate. He's not got a footballing management brain to actually digest what an opponent is trying to do. He is what I call a one-trick pony. He's got one way of playing and he will stick to his laurels and he will play that way regardless. And we will win games like we did last night. And the trouble is Southgate then digests that as a good performance because we've won. And he doesn't change things in the next game. And with regards to the second half, the substitutes were all wrong. As far as I'm concerned, the substitutes were all wrong. You know, if you want to take Saka off, I don't have an issue with that because of the fact he's played a lot of time and he's been a bit tired. But how Foden stayed on the pitch as long as he has is beyond me. You've got an Eze and you've got a Gordon there that can do arguably the same sort of things as what Saka's doing on the right, going at a player, exposing the player on a one-on-one and having the pace to get past him. We will never know because he doesn't do it. He's brought on a Gallagher for a Trent, which I don't see the logic in that at all. You're 1-0 up. You've put Trent in there to try and shore up the defensive duty that Gallagher doesn't bring you. And yet you change it when you're 1-0 up, like you're 5-0 up when the game is won. And I think he was playing with fire. And I think 10 more minutes in that game, I wouldn't have been at all surprised if we would have conceded an equaliser.
I'll be honest with you. I thought we were good for 13 minutes of the game. That's it. I thought we were good for the first 30 minutes. We looked energetic. We looked like we were passing the ball quick. Once we scored, we sat back. And to be honest with you, it was like watching West Ham all season. And that's my honest opinion. I thought, Bellingham was class. I thought Guéhi was class. I thought Saka had a good 45 minutes. But other than that, he did nothing in the second half. And when you're bringing Bowen on with 15 minutes to go, and he was the bright spark of that second half with the only chance we created, people will say it's a bad miss by Harry Kane. I generally think it was a good save. So there was positives, but again, I know why he brought Gallagher on, and that was to put to put a bit more, not a burst of pace, but liven up the midfield because we looked like we were fading away. And I do agree with you. If 10 minutes more, they probably do go and score. And I think it helped us that Mitrovic went off when he did, because I thought he looked pretty decent. He held the ball up well. He was causing problems for Stones at some points. But yeah, it's a 1-0 win. I take the 3 points, but performances do need to improve because if we come up against better opposition, we will struggle playing like that. And I see a stat yesterday that we'd won only one game in 10 in our opening games in major tournaments. So to get that win last night is massive. So we're a nation that we grow into games. We don't hit the ground running straight away. So hopefully we just grow into this tournament step by step, and hopefully players like Bellingham haven't peaked too soon, because he was outstanding, as you both said. Just going into it, who were your standout performers yesterday? Jay, I'll start with you because I thought there was three players who for 90 minutes give everything. And I'll tell you my three at the end, but go on, Jay.
Okay, I'll give you. I was torn. I've been talking about this on my TikTok live today. I'm torn. So obviously because of the first half, Jude Bellingham's got to go in there. I think Jude Bellingham in the second half was leggy and he needed to come off earlier. I know it's Jude, but he needed to come off earlier in that second half. He looked like he had jet lag. He was still with the Real Madrid squad up to Monday. He only come back on Tuesday. So he's only had 4 days with the squad. But the Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm going to say Saka, but I think Saka put everything on that first 45 minutes. I think all these agendas where people were going, oh, Limpy Saka, blah, Saka. Oh, Cole Palmer should start over Saka. I think that's exactly why he should have started. Going into this competition, boys, Saka is England's second leading scorer with 11 goals. Do you know who's next to that? Jude Bellingham he's got 4 now. So he's England's second leading scorer by 7 goals. And in 26 appearances, he has had 24 goal contributions. So a goal or assist every single match for England. That's Bukayo Saka's stats. So Saka as well. Can I have a joint third? Can I have 2 players? Do you mind?
Go for it.
Because I'm going to put in Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice was unsung yesterday. I think that defence, John Stones, was poor. And I think Declan Rice bailed us out quite a few times from what I was seeing. And I think Guehi deserves a massive shout out because there was a lot of question marks going into that, where everyone thought that Konsa should be starting. Joe Gomez, Konsa, I heard plenty of people saying Konsa constantly. Guehi stepped up to the mark, and I was quite proud of Konsa. And I think you might agree with me on that one, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even want to say who was the standout players because I think collectively, as a bunch, I think that they've done a professional performance with regards to the fact that there wasn't much goal threats there. I just think that, like I said, I don't want to go down the individual basis of this player didn't perform, that player didn't perform. For me personally, it's the manager's responsibility. If there's a player that's not performing and there's a player where you're asking a Foden to go out on the left when he's not a left winger and he's not getting any joy out on the left, you've got a dilemma to make. You either stick with it and then he's going to look very, very indecisive in his performance, or you take him off and you bring someone on there that you think will be able to play that position naturally. So like I said, I just want to reiterate, I have no qualms with Southgate's starting 11, and I completely get why he went with the 11 that he got. I just want to see moving forward where I want to watch England, and I want to come away from an England game where I am as positive as Jay is with regards to, not just because I want to be a positive person, but because the performance has brought a positive side of me out of me. And the problem is with Southgate, he makes it hard for me to enjoy watching England, even now. He does not understand the concept of the changes he needs to make. And like Jay said with Arteta changing formations, like, you know, what does Gordon and Eze have to do to get any minutes in a game of football? They've just sat there and watched Foden hardly touch a football on the left-hand side. I did speak to Jay earlier on in his live, and Jay said, and quite rightly so, Foden moved inside quite a lot in the game. He wasn't really a natural left winger. But to me, that makes it worse, not better. Because if he's moved inside and he's still not influenced the game, then there's no excuses to say that Foden's not a left winger. The problem was England was not using the left side at all. We were one-dimensional. We were going down the right channel, or most of the game, we were trying to go through the middle, even so. So when you've got a Saka, a Gordon, a Foden, we need to utilise the players that we've got, and we need to understand that we are not going to walk through teams. And if we can't walk through Serbia, you're not going to walk through anyone else. You need a plan B. You need a different direction. To take a squad of 26, to bring a Gordon that stays out on that left wing, you would have a left winger that stays out left, a right winger and Saka staying out right, and then you'd have a lot of space on the pitch. We do not have to go down the one-dimensional route all the time, trying to go down the middle. And England are trying to do that far too much. And even with Trent's trying to put a pass through the middle because that's where the options are, because he hasn't got the wingers out right wide. He hasn't got that left winger where he can do that cross pass that he does for Liverpool that's so successful. And to say they haven't got the wingers isn't true, because we have got the wingers. We're just not using them.
Yeah, I completely get where you're coming from. For me, I think I thought Rice was my man in the match, to be honest with you. I thought he was the best player on the park. The way he broke up play, and I'm used to seeing it. I support West Ham. I've watched him for years. Arsenal fans have had the pleasure of watching him this year as well. So for me, he broke up play excellently. Guehi, again, as Jay said, I'm going to echo them comments. Everyone was uncertain what he was going to bring to the side. It only made 3 appearances alongside John Stones before last night's game. So it was a very inexperienced duo, let's say. And Stones probably had to coach him through it. I want to use coach him through it just to make sure that they're on the same page. And the other one's Bellingham. I thought he was class. Just touching on Gordon and Eze, Doc, and not so much Eze, but Gordon. The reason I think he didn't get minutes is because the defensive side of the job, and Gordon don't track back for Newcastle, and like as we see Bowen last night, do you know what I mean? He's in front of the ball, blocking it with his belly and whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I just don't think he had the trust in Gordon to do that. I'm not saying Eze because totally different players, but in Gordon, I just don't think you get that from Gordon, and I think trust was a massive issue. And I also think that with Trent, that's why he got bought off. And because of his defensive frailties, we know he can't defend. We know he can't. We've been saying it for ages.
The problem I've got with that, though, is if you can't trust them to do that aspect of the game, then should they actually be in your squad going into this competition? Because the bottom line is you're going to have to defend. You're going to have to, in certain games, put it this way. If that's true with what you're saying, right, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying, if that's true with what you're saying, then hypothetically what you're saying is when we get to the semi-finals and we're going to need to defend more, that's going to be the team that we're going to put out.
Yeah, I don't think Trent plays.
No, neither do I. I think he'll put... So can I touch on what I think he'll do if we play against bigger oppositions, what I said before the tournament even started, boys? So when we play against bigger oppositions, we all know he used to play with Jordan Henderson and Calvin Phillips. That was his double pivot, double six. I think when we come up against the big oppositions like France, Germany, Spain, he will play with Kobe Mainoo and Declan Rice as the 2 sixes because we know that's how Southgate likes to play. I think, and here's me positive, Jamie, I think we should be going gung-ho with teams like this. We don't need to sit back on these teams no more. But touching on that, I want to put a big thing out there, and it might be like, oh, you're delusional, mate. But I think Denmark is an easier game than Serbia, and we will go to Denmark and beat them by 3. That's my personal opinion.
I think physically that it'll be an easier game. I think Denmark will have a lot to prove, and many of their players play in the Premier League, so I think it will be tough. Just touching on what you said, I think I'm surprised it didn't start with Gallagher last night. I said it at the beginning. I've had many of debates with Doc about Gallagher and Trent, and I thought he would start with Gallagher, and that's who I think he'll start with moving forward. It'll be a Gallagher and Rice. And it was interesting because when I was watching one of the games earlier, Gary Neville was touching on it that he somehow needs to get Gallagher in that 11. That's how Southgate's thinking. How does he incorporate Gallagher into that 11 as well as Foden, Bellingham and Saka? It's very hard. It's very hard. Will we see Bellingham sit a little bit more deeper and Gallagher in front of them, Rice and Bellingham, or will we see Gallagher sit and... Do you know what I mean? So it's very interesting that even the pundits that are in and around the camp are now saying that he's trying to think of how to get Gallagher in the 11.
You've just touched on 3 different things, though. Between the two of you, you've just touched on 3 different things and 3 different scenarios. You've got Jay stating Mainoo comes in for Trent, and therefore we go more defensively, 2 in the defence, right? And I'm not opposed to that idea at all. Then you've gone and said Gallagher comes in for Trent. Well, Gallagher doesn't make you any more defensive. So now we're not going defensive. We're now going arguably as attacking, if not more attacking than what we are now with Gallagher over Trent, right? And then the third thing is you've then just said about getting them all in there, and you've touched on Bellingham playing a little bit deeper. Now, a lot of people, this is gonna be something that people are gonna think is a bit of a I don't know how to say this, whether you think that I'm just trying to get a rise out of people or not, but a lot of people state that Jude Bellingham is not a number 10. A lot of people state that you are being blinded by the lights of what he's doing at Real Madrid. And a lot of people state that over the 1 year where you've seen him at Real Madrid, that's his best position. And a lot of people that have been watching Jude over a longer course would suggest that he's a 6 to an 8. That can get forward and get you goals. He doesn't have to sit back. So I think if you're trying to do what you guys want to do, I think the natural person to do that is Bellingham. Because Bellingham does not need to play in a 10 role to influence a game. And I'll tell you something else. The way he was tracking back yesterday and putting the tackles in the way he did, that's not a 10. 10 does not do that. The natural 10 in a natural team is one of the lazy ones that stays up top. To me, Bellingham is wearing the 10 shirt and not playing the 10 role for England. And if you're not playing a 10 role for England, that's absolutely fine. But there's your answer. Drop him back in, put Foden in his natural position of 10. Let Bellingham link up with Foden and Kane by playing the ball into them and getting past them. And then let's put a natural left winger out on the wing so we've got options either side if things aren't working. And that for me is the way forward.
Do you know the thing that I see last night is when we had the ball, we went to 3 at the back, and Foden tucked in and Trippier went high. Saka was high on the other wing, right? For me, or not for me, I'm going to ask you the question. Do you think Bellingham has a free role when it comes to England? So he's not playing in the 10, he's playing wherever he wants. A bit like what Scholesy used to get. Do you remember when Scholesy used to have that free run in midfield? Do you think Bellingham's playing similar position like that and he's getting given the free role where he can defend, he can attack, he can stay in the middle, sort of do what he wants? Because to me, last night he was everywhere. And I thought to myself, this ain't a number 10, like you just said, Doc. Do you think that he has that free role within the England squad where he just does what he wants?
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely think so. And I just want to touch on one thing. I think Bellingham does have that free role. And then when I spoke about Kobe Mainoo and Declan Rice, what we found in the friendlies, Declan Rice did not play as the 6 when Kobe Mainoo was in the squad. Mainoo plays the 6 and Rice played the 8 like he does for Arsenal. And then you had Jude free roaming. So it wasn't too defensive, but what I found, so obviously over at West Ham, he played predominantly as a 6, I think. But for Arsenal, I prefer Declan Rice in an 8 because when you're pressing the team, he is perfect for coming in and just getting the ball and just hitting on the counter. He is so perfect for it. You know, when they're playing that pass and he comes in and intercepts, that is so good in that half. So that's kind of what I was touching on, where I know we need him as the 6, and arguably my perspective and my feelings towards Declan Rice, he is England's most important player. There's no one who can replace him in that squad. Whereas we've got loads of 10s, we've got another keeper, we've got another centre back, we've got another striker. Where at 6, we have no one. We have no one. We have Mainoo, who's played 1 season. So Declan Rice is very, very important. But just to carry on, I know I've drifted off a little bit.
Pardon?
I know, but that's what I'm saying. What Southgate played Mainoo as the 6. That's how
What about
he played
Walton? What about Walton? You seem to forget him.
No, but Adam Wharton don't play 6. He plays as an 8.
No, he doesn't.
He does. He's a deep line playmaker. He don't put in tackles, and he's not like that.
Oh, yes, he does.
Is he? I thought he's more of a majestic type of player by the look.
Manchester City have already come out and said that Walton is the natural person that they're going to go for to replace Rodri.
Oh, fair enough.
Let's be honest.
To be fair, Adam Wharton has played 18 games in the Premier League, no?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 18 games. That's why I'm going by what Southgate, not me personally. I'm just talking what Southgate does. Southgate does. He will play with Mainoo at 6, Declan Rice as an 8, and Bellingham as that 10. And you are right, Bellingham does have a free roam, which yesterday we seen, and Foden come and dropped him. Personally, myself, I think whether it's Bukayo Saka playing like Foden did, he deserved to be dropped, and Anthony Gordon to come in, or an Eze. And I completely agree with you there, boys. But on the positive side, like I said, we did come out of a 1-0 win, and if we play Denmark and we beat them, please tell me, people, do you think that Denmark today and Slovenia looked like a better squad than Serbia? They certainly didn't. Serbia against us looked like a better team than both of them.
It's the identity that worries me. Like I said, I don't care which way he goes. I don't care if he sticks or twists. If he wants to go defensive, go defensive. If he wants to go attacking, go attacking. But at the moment, we've got neither. And this is the biggest point. You know, he's put an attacking team out there that's not attacking. He's got a Foden in a 10 on paper, wearing the 10 shirt, not playing the 10. So this is the thing. You say you think Bellingham's got a free role. I say this. When you're a youngster, it's like when Rooney broke on the scene. You've got that enthusiasm for the game, yeah? You haven't got the experience there to know your role in the team. You still want to influence that game. You are still chasing that ball, and you are still putting in tackles where a Harry Kane will stand and pass it on to the next person and go, I've done my bit. Now it's your turn to put the tackle in. A Jude Bellingham will get there and put the tackle in and ask questions later. He don't care whether he's supposed to be there or not. And I am all for that. I don't want these youngsters getting this taken from their game. I want youngsters to be free to express themselves however they feel necessary. But if you're going to do that, you've got to do that with a format and you've got to do that with a structure where it works. And that's why, for me, I think that the best thing going forward is if you're going to play Rice as the holder and you're going to play a Bellingham in the side, you let Bellingham run freely where he goes attacking if he wants and back if he wants. And for me, you cannot do that in the 10 role. That is the 8 role. So that's why I think that the balance of the team is you put Foden in the 10. I think you'll get the best out of Foden. I think Bellingham will still give you the same performance that he gave you last night in the 8. I think that you've got a Rice. And for me, that is going attacking in the games that you want to see us attacking in, like the Serbia game yesterday. But I would argue that would be more attacking than what you see last night, because you'd have Bellingham putting in the performance that he did, but you'd have Foden influencing the game a little bit more, and you'd have Saka doing what Saka does, and then you'd have a left winger out there running down the left as well. Now, the problem is we've gone attacking against Serbia. We've registered 3 shots on target in a match. So if that is your format of attacking football, then we've got some major, major problems, because that is not attacking, is it? I would be if we'd had 25 shots and converted 1 and 1-1-0, I wouldn't have an issue. But we struggled to break open a Serbia side. And I just don't want people to be blinded by the lights. And I'm not suggesting that it's the end of the world, guys. We've won the first game. We're watching a game right now. It's the 99th minute, France-Austria, and France are 1-0 up against an Austria team. And let's not be fooled. Denmark have drawn their game as well. So that win is very, very important. And that win was the be-all and end-all, not the performance. But I'm not worried about the performance for that game because we got the win. I'm worried about that performance moving forward if we need to win, and especially in the knockout stages. That's the concern. And if Southgate changes it, great. But if he stays the way that he's been playing and he sticks with loyalty and trust, which is what he's ultimately been renowned for, then we're in for a long, long tournament. And not a long tournament as in we're going long into it. It's going to be painful to watch.
So, Doc, just a quick one. So, we're talking about Bellingham. Last night, we see Trippier put in a tackle. It went out for a throw-in. Bellingham wows the crowd and then chests into the Serbian player. Now, I've said for probably the last 3 months that Bellingham will cost us at some point in this tournament. Yes or no question. Do you think his reactions, his passion will spill over to cost England at some point in this Euros?
I don't think it will happen, but I totally understand the question, and I totally get why you're asking the question. And do I think Bellingham's got that to his game? Absolutely. You've seen it last night. There was no need for it. He was in the guy's face. He got the reaction that he wanted for the blokes to square up to him. At that point, you blow him a kiss and you laugh. The minute you put your arm in, it's a bit of a Beckham scenario, isn't it? And it doesn't end well. So there was no need to make the contact. I'm all for all the jeering up by the crowd. I'm all for getting in the geezer's face and rattling the geezer, blow him a kiss, tell him the score, end of. But the minute he makes contact is the issue I've got. And for me personally, that's his age, and he's hyper. You know, he's buzzing for the game. He's hyper, and he hasn't got that experience like sterned into him yet of knowing how far to go and when to pull back. And at the moment, he's on the edge. And again, we've heard it before with Rooney, with some of the tackles he put in. You cannot take that out of the youngster's game, because the minute he's second-guessing himself, the minute he's playing with chains on, and that's the minute you won't get the expressive performance that we need from him. So you cannot take that out of his game, unfortunately. You've just got to hope and pray that he toes the line.
Jay, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Can I give you a comparison? Do you know what Jude reminds me of in that moment? Not this season's Arsenal. Do you know the season before, where we let our emotions get the best of us and it ended up costing us? That's what it kind of reminds me of. But I'm not going to lie to you boys, in the moment, I absolutely loved it, because Serbia were all over us, pulling us all over the pitch, grabbing us, fouling us every time we touched the ball. Saka got fouled 4 of them. I think he had 6 fouls against him that game. We were getting booted off the pitch, and Jude stood up and goes, "Look, we're here now, mate." And I enjoyed every tiny bit of it. And I think that he needed to do that in that game, to stand up to him and say, "Look, we're here. We're not here to play about, boys. This is it. I'm showing you."
But answer me this then. If the referee would have pulled a yellow card out for that, right, which I think he would have been quite within his rights to do so.
Yeah, he would have, yeah.
Then
it's a different scenario then, yeah.
then
But
do
you know what it
take
kind of
Bellingham
reminds
off?
me of?
Do you leave him on?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, you know, Granit Xhaka. That's what Granit Xhaka was like for Arsenal. It cost us quite a few times. He was very much, wow, get everyone up, get them going. And then in the next instance, he just goes over and just bumps someone and just goes from, and you're just like, why have you just done that? Like, but he did it because that Arsenal team, they were a bunch of young lads, and we were getting pushed about and booted, and he was just trying to stand up. And I think kind of that's what Bellingham did last night, but he didn't do it in the right manner. I think I didn't like the execution of it, but I understood why he did it. That's kind of my point of view from it, boys.
Yeah, I think the one that sticks in my mind is Xhaka away at Anfield when he rattled Trent and you were 2-0 up and so on. But for me, when you're doing things like that, you're giving a referee a decision to make.
That's it.
And sometimes they're not all the same decisions.
And you let the football do the talking at the end of the day, boys. We're not there for all of the hassle. We're not there for the nitty-gritty. We're not there for that. Yes, it shows that you're up for the fight. But at the end of the day, do you know what else shows you're up for the fight? Getting the ball, nuts in the geezer, and putting the ball in the net and going, how you doing? So, you know, at the end of the day, we're there to win football. We're not there for handbags. We're not there for the rest of it. And like I said, people will see that in Bellingham. And now you'll see a Simone moment at some point in this competition. Do not be fooled if the next team that comes up against us kicks lumps out of him and tries to get a reaction from him. Because you are showing the world that you've got that temperament now. And that's why the smile is the best response on a football pitch. Because at the end of the day, no one can tell you off for smiling. So your
Portugals will play. They do it all the time, don't they? Portugal. If we get Portugal, Spain, them sort of countries, they'll play on that. But I want to move on to another point now because it's been a massive talking point all day. Harry Kane. What did you make of Harry Kane's performance last night? Jay, I'll start with you, mate. What did you make of his performance?
Boys, I'm just going to whisper into my mic and just say one thing about his performance. Spursy. It is Spursy. That's what that performance was from Harry Kane. I'm the most positive geezer in the world, yeah? But it was so Spursy that it was a joke. But he did drag and pull players. What he did, he helped Bellingham progress the ball and get hold of the ball because he was dragging players for Bellingham to have that space. I don't doubt that it helped Bellingham very, very much. That's why Bellingham shone. But he was getting man-marked by that central half. He was getting pulled around. He lost his battle. So every game, when I used to play, so I played at quite a high level. I played semi-professional. I played through academies. My mind, before every game, I'm winning my one-on-one. I'm winning my battle with him. And Kane lost his battles. But I don't think he deserves to be dropped because Harry Kane. He scored 64 goals for England. He scored 53 more goals than the next person in line, which is Saka. So he's our most experienced scorer. But he was very, very poor, but he did help Jude Bellingham at the same time, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Like he did, Bellingham shone because Kane dragged players away kind of thing. And Foden did the same thing as well. He dragged players away from Jude Bellingham as well. But Kane was very, very poor. He was poor, and he's meant to be the man who steps up. He got his chance. It was a great save by the keeper, but throughout the game, he was non-existent. And he keeps... So what I find, people, Kane actually doesn't play as our furthest player forward. We all know that he drops in. Saka is actually our furthest player forward. If you've noticed, with Arsenal, he plays predominantly out on the wing. With England, for some reason, he's a deep line forward. Do you kind of get what I mean? When he's always the furthest man forward, Bukayo Saka. Like, if you watched the friendly before where he scored that hat-trick, I think it might have been against Iceland. But, you know, when Trent played the ball over, he chested it and volleyed it in the top corner, he was the furthest man forward. So he ends up playing the furthest man forward when Kane should be in there because we have Jude, we have Foden, we have our players that can play them cutting-edge passes. We don't need Kane in there to be doing that. And that's why we've got Trent in there. We've got Trent to spread them balls about and spray them about, but that's what Kane's coming in and trying to do. So I'm a bit confused, but I don't think he played very well at all, but I think he did help Jude.
Doc?
I'm going to put a different spin on it, and it's not often that I do this, to be honest. I'm going to come to his defence. What do you want from the geezer? You know, he's a guy that's a striker. Yeah, a goal, fair enough. But this is the same striker that is our all-time scorer that drops deep and creates chances, right? And still scores you goals, hence the fact he's your all-time top scorer. And for me, personally, the reason why you see that performance from Kane yesterday is like exactly what I've touched on. Southgate's put chains on him, told him he wants him to stay forward, and now he's staying forward and nothing's going up to him. Now we're criticising Harry Kane. It's not Kane, it's Southgate. Now, the thing that I don't understand is Kane has always dropped deep, and we've never had players that will go past him, right? We've now got Foden, Bellingham, Saka that will all go past him where he can now do that, and now we're asking him not to do it. I don't get it. If he feels the need to drop in deep, and if that means that defender's got a dilemma, do I stick or do I twist? Do I go with my man because I'm trying to do the man on one-to-one marking on him, or do I stay back and give him time to turn? I'm all for that. I'm all for that. So I don't think you need Kane scoring the goals. I think that we're not a country where we had a Shearer where 9 times out of 10, the goal's going to come from a Shearer. You've got Bellingham that can score. You've got Foden that can score. You've got Eze that can score. You've got Saka that can score. You've got Gordon that can chip in with a few. You've got Rice that come up and score. You've got Trent that can score. You do not need Harry Kane playing the number 9 role, sticking up top on his own. And if you do ask him to do that, then don't criticise him when he's not in the game because we're not utilising him. You cannot have it both ways.
I agree, Doc. And I think last night, Southgate said to him, do not drop in. We've got Trent in there, we've got Bellingham in there, we've got Rice in there. They can all pass the ball. And you stay on the last man. And that's what we're not used to as England fans, is Harry Kane staying on that last man. I don't think it was a bad form. I thought he drew a lot of fouls towards the end of the game. He was smart in some of them. He bided time. I don't think he's as bad as what people made out to be. I wouldn't say he had a fantastic game. I don't think he was that bad.
Question to you both. Who has been Manchester City's most influential player this year?
Foden.
Rodri, I'd say.
Rodri in the holding midfield, but like when I say influential, I'm talking about like going forward.
Foden.
It'd be Phil Foden.
Foden, right. Now, you've got the most prolific striker on the planet the year before, Haaland, who's just done a treble, right? And he does for City the exact same thing that Kane has done last night. He stays up top, and in the big games, he doesn't show anything in the game. And once in a blue moon, he'll get his one chance and score. And then you'll talk about the goal that he scored. And
I don't think Kane stayed up top though. I think he still dropped deep, and that's what my problem is that's why Trent was in there. I seen Kane deep I seen him playing a 6 next to Declan Rice at one point.
I think there was points where his natural game was to take him there, and I think that's the problem where the game plan was for him to stay up top. And there was a couple like Walker, for instance, when Walker went past Saka, broke it in, and for me, he should have shot, but it's Walker, so I understand why he didn't shot. Now, that should have been a tap-in for a Kane. Kane should have been there, and that should have been a tap-in. But like
that was my only problem. That was my only problem, that he weren't in that position, Doc. That's what... Because I thought Trent was a good idea playing in there as long as Kane didn't drop deep. And the fact that Kane didn't drop deep, the fact that Kane was dropping deep made it a problem for me. That's what... I think Kane's performance was good. Don't get me wrong. That's what I mean. I think it was all right. It's just that I wanted him up there because Kane has scored 52 goals this season. We said Haaland was the most prolific last season. Kane's the most prolific scorer in the whole of the top 5 European leagues this season. He scored 52
goals. How many of them goals, though? How many of them goals that you're talking about with Kane has come from staying up top and just getting the ball in the box and him scoring?
13 of them were headers. 13 of them were headers. 13 of them were headers.
Yeah.
So that was in the box.
Yeah. But then 13 out of 50 odd means he's still obviously chipped in a lot of goals from pulling outside the box and striking from a distance. See, I'm not disagreeing with Kane. I don't mind which way you do it with Kane. I just think that everyone needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet. So if Southgate's telling Kane to stay up top and the other players are expecting Kane to stay up top, he must stay up top. But I think personally, we should be going down the other route. We shouldn't be telling Kane to stay up top. We should be saying to the players, you're all intelligent footballers. If you see Kane drop in, that is your moment to come off your flank and to get forward. And as much as you say Kane should have scored a tap in, if Kane's not there, a Foden should have had a tap in.
Yeah,
Or
I completely agree with that, Doc. That's what I completely agree with. I think that if he's told to stay up top, stay up top. But I think what you're saying, I don't care about him coming in. It's not that. It's that it didn't look like he was meant to. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Like he wasn't meant
I
to
think
do
all
that.
the other players the hint was he was going to stay up top. But again, I'd still blame Southgate for that. I don't blame Kane because I think
so I'm in agreement with you very much.
It's exactly the same as Manchester United when they signed Ronaldo. You've bought a player and then all of a sudden you're asking him to track back. You know what you get from Kane. He's at the end of his career. He's made a name for himself playing his way. You don't teach old dogs new tricks at this stage. There's no need for it. Play to his strengths and let the youngsters fill in the gaps. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. And again, for me, the opportunity you're talking about is when this is why we went free at the back, and Trippier was probably the one that should have been bursting into a far post because Foden had tucked in. Do you know what I mean? And this is when that becomes complicated because we're all going, Foden, where are you? Well, really, he's playing in that 10 role, and Trippier was playing a lot higher than what he should have been. And I don't think we'll see that with Luke Shaw. I really don't think we'll see that with Luke Shaw.
I'll tell you something else for free. Someone that I've been campaigning for all year, if you watch the Premier League like week in, week out, Crystal Palace play three at the back and Mitchell on the left. When we go down the right-hand side, our right back is very, very forward and attacking, having shots across goal, and Mitchell is on the left-hand side getting on the end of them. I'm not saying he's a prolific goal scorer or anything like that, but what I am saying is he would be there. And that is why Mitchell should have been in this England team. Trippier is not a left back. And just because he does it naturally as a right back doesn't mean to say that he can integrate that onto the left. It's not quite as simple as that. He's going to have doubts because of the fact that he's out of position, that he's going to not want to go forward too much because he's going to be scared that he's going to get caught out at the back. And he's got no protection on that side whatsoever. So I totally understand why he's cautious and why he's not bumming forward. But like I keep saying to the cows come home, these are Southgate issues. And if it means we've got to drop a couple of the big name players to play players in their natural position and get a better performance for England, let's do it.
So coming towards the end of the show now, I just want to touch on Denmark, obviously Thursday evening at 5 p.m. Are you starting the same 11 or are you making changes, Jay?
Do you want me to start, boys? Or
Yeah.
So what I would do, and I'm not saying this with an agenda because some people do have agendas with certain players. When it comes to England, people, I support every single England player, whether they play for Arsenal, Tottenham. I know I say Spursy, but every single player, when they put on an England shirt, that's it. They're an English player. Yeah. I think Foden should be dropped because he's had his audition, he's had his job interview, he's not working. It's not working in that position. Either they fit him in or they drop him out, put in Anthony Gordon or Eze. And my preference would be Eze because over on that side, he's got Saka running at players. You can't have two wingers running at players at once. You've got to have one that holds the ball, drifts in and gets fouls, and you have one that's attacking. That's it. It's got to be. It can't just be both because that's too old school. You don't just have two attacking wingers no more, people. But yeah, I think an Eze should come in. Against Denmark, they're going to be a lot more open. So it might be a bit mad me saying this, but I would keep Trent in for a more open team so he can play them balls. Because you think about it, Bellingham is sometimes that last man where he's breaking forward, he's heading the ball in like he did in that instance. Trent can play that deep playing pass, where Bellingham don't play that way. Bellingham ain't one of them. He's going to be spraying balls and putting balls in behind, playing people in. If you have, just say you had, you replaced Alexander-Arnold with Gallagher, he can't play that pass either. So we end up with where it was at Iceland, where we couldn't break them down and we couldn't play that ball through. So I think you do need Trent. I don't think it worked too well this time. But against Denmark, I think it may work. So I would keep the same starting 11 and I would drop Foden. That's what I'd do. If Luke Shaw's fit and he's ready to go, I'd take out Trippier as well. But I don't know if he's fit or not. But yeah, I would drop Eze. I'd bring in Eze, I would personally.
Doc?
I'm a little bit different to Jay. I think for me personally, the 11 that we started with was winning the game 1-0. And for me, it wasn't that much of an issue. It was the changes and everything else. So for me personally, this is the second game in the competition. If we win this game, we are ultimately through. So for me personally, you stick with the starting 11, but you have a plan B for the 60-minute mark and not a minute after. So if Foden's not in the game at 16 minutes you take Foden off, and then you bring in a bit of energy in on that side, and then we go for the game. I still generally believe that the 11 that we've got that started would be more than enough to give us a lead in the Denmark game, or at worst keep it a draw where we can then go even more attacking with other options. So for me personally, I stick with the 11, but I make the changes and on the 60 minute mark. And like I said, Foden's either going to be in this game and then he stays on, or he's going to be out of this game and he comes off.
Yeah,
what about you? Would you stick or twist?
I would stick because I think if we win, we're through. And you know what I would do? I'd ring the changes in the third game, give everyone a bit of game time. What I would do, the only change I would make if I was to make a change, would take Trippier out and put Shaw in. But again, it all depends on his fitness.
I think it's too soon for him. I think that you're if you put Shaw on there and he breaks down, then he's definitely out of the games that we need. So I think it's too soon for him. I don't think you need to do it now. I really don't. If it's the third game and ultimately we need a result, then you take the risk. But at this moment in time, I don't think you need to risk Shaw, because I don't think Shaw brings that much to the team that, it's the be all and end all with Shaw there. Do you know what I mean? I really don't. If he wants to put a Gomez in there and give Gomez a go, that's fine. But again, I think it's too soon for that. I think that's what the third game is for.
That's why I say get the win Thursday night and then bring the changes for the third game. So drop Saka, drop Foden, drop Bellingham. Maybe not make 11 changes, but the important people, the important players that we're going to rely on, rest them up, because I've seen the next stage, and it's a tough ask. I think we've got Germany, Holland, and France if we win the group in the latter stages of the competition. So,
do you want me to touch on that? I've done a prediction over on my podcast thing. If we finish first in our group, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, and Portugal all end up on the other side of the draw, and France end up if they finish first on our side of the draw. So the only bigger team we would have to play along the way would be France, and that'd be the semis. If they all finish, if Netherlands finish second, and then Germany finish first, and France finish first, we will end up on the other side of the draw.
Okay, so that's a positive. But guys, thank you for watching. Jay, thank you for coming. Just quickly, Jay, just remind everyone of your platforms, mate.
My platform is Jamie Waffles Footy over on YouTube, where I do podcasts also, just like these two lovely gentlemen here. And over on my TikTok, I am JGunner17, where I do a lot of content, a lot of footy content, filters for your kids, and just football in general. We talk all things football over on that channel. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm as least biased as I possibly can, hence why it's not J Arsenal Footy. It is Jay Gunner, but it's Jamie Waffles Footy, because I talk all things football.
Jay, just before we go, I know that there's a message that you share on your platform. It's a message that we share on our platform as well. And it's something that we've all got in common that we're highly passionate about. But I want to give you the honours to deliver the message, mate. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for that, Doc. Very, very kind of you. So basically, on my podcast, normally I touch on mental health awareness. So just message someone, reach out to someone today, whether it's a friend or a family member, or if you're sat on the bus or the train and you go to put your headphones in, there's someone sat next to you, just say hello and just check in on one of your loved ones, someone random, anyone today, because you don't know how they're feeling. You don't know what they're thinking about. Just a simple hello, how are you, can change someone's day today, people. So if you listen to me now with your headphone in, take it out, say next to the person beside you, and just check in on someone today, please, people.
Great message, Jay. Thank you. Guys, if you like the show and the content, please drop us a like and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. We will see you next Monday. Doc, thank you very much, mate. Have a good week.
All the best, boys. And
Jay, thank you for coming on, mate. Absolute pleasure to share the platform with you. Wicked, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Mutual, sir.